Welcome to another edition of the Critical Beard Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, the Cardinal, and this is my buddy in trouble, the co-host, Mr. Meatball. Goink. And we're coming at you live. Not really. We're recording this and we'll put it up later.
It's
but we're coming at you from the Cardinal Meatball Show. This will be up later on, but check it out. We're going to talk about some stuff. some things and other things, and then we're gonna talk about the main thing. It's gonna be crazy. There's gonna be intrigue, drama, and insanity. This is one jam-packed show filled to the brim with non-stop, just fucking non-stop, man.
Come on, stop it.
Non-stop.
What's wrong with you? Stop it.
So anyway,
what are you playing today?
We always start with a segment we call "What is it that you are playing?"
What am I playing? Well, I just finished Chrono Cross. I hated it. I know. I hated everything about it. I just filmed
You're so binary.
I know. It's either hot or cold, man.
Masterpiece. There's a reviewer that I like, but like he's so like he either like is so passionate about something he wants to like kill himself, or he's like, it's just this is why it's garbage. Like it's just and
yeah. I'm definitely not that. I have my problems with it. I just recorded my hour-long review of it today, so I'm editing it right now. Editing.
Editoring.
It is in the editing process.
It's in the editing room.
It's in the cutting room. Right, Steve? Shut up, Steve. Steve's such an asshole.
Steve, quiet. He's over here too.
Two Johns and two Steves.
Yeah. Well, the Johns at least, they have some panache. You know what I mean?
And I started up Final Fantasy 1 on the Game Boy Advanced.
What is that?
Apparently, they've made more than one. Pretty dumb name. I mean, but we'll see.
Final Fantasy?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't called Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, but they said it was going to be the last one.
It's the final one.
Yeah. Like that Europe song.
I think my dad used to, because there was like a time where I was like begging him to buy me Final Fantasy 2 for, Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And he was like, Final Fantasy 2, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, how do you have a sequel to a game called Final Fantasy?
Look, Dad, okay, I don't have time or knowledge to really explain.
He also called me a vidiot.
That was a very 90s phrase.
Was it? I never heard it before or since then.
They used it in the Super Nintendo Ren and Stimpy game. It was called Vidiots.
Oh, I think that's where we got it because like he saw me watching an episode of Ren and Stimpy. I think that's where he got it from. Yeah, that makes sense.
Other than that, I was thinking about starting up Death Stranding just as it's the perfect quarantine game. So I figured I'd pop that in since Kojima just won't stop being prophetic. I'm just like, whatever, I'll just live in it.
Won't stop.
It's just like, hey guys, in a couple months you're gonna be living this, and we're all like, whatever, dude. You're great. I regret everything.
Yeah, I just want to know the one guy who's like immune to it, who can like go out and do all the stuff. Where's he at?
He's out there somewhere.
He's somewhere. Sam Porter Bridges.
It's probably actually the guy. What's his name?
Who?
The actor? I forget his name all the time.
It's literally. Why did you do that to me? Why did you do that to me?
I don't know. I don't really watch Walking Dead, so I'm like the guy.
Well, I know him like before that. I know him.
Blade 2. Okay, dude. Whatever.
No, from Boondock Saints. He's one of the Irish.
I only knew him. From Blade 2. But yeah. I was thinking about
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. His little baby fetus.
Thank you, Steve. Steve helped us out on that one.
I went from Chrono Cross to Final Fantasy 1 and Death Stranding. So
basically all the same game.
Basically, actually, yeah. There is a line through all of them. There's a lot of walking.
I would say less walking in Chrono Cross than the others.
Yes. Final Fantasy 1's a lot of walking, though.
More walking in Death Stranding than the others.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy's that middle ground. just enough walking, IGN.
Walking fight.
All
right, so what are you playing?
What is I playing?
What are you playing? Come on, tell me.
Well, I did start up Chrono Cross. I played through the first few hours of it, and I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would. Playing on the PSP isn't like the best place to play it because there's some small ass menu stuff.
But it's kind of good to play it on the PSP because,
well, for one, it looks
those pre-rendered backgrounds look not great when they're expanded
it looks
on a flat
really screen. It looks those PS1 RPGs look really good on a PSP because of that small screen. Yeah. But it's just funny because the PSP already has that small screen, and then it's like the smaller screen inside the small screen. You know, you're like, damn it, I wish I could just make it big.
You can expand it out in the options.
But it stretches it, doesn't it?
Well, the doy.
But I mean, like it, because I mean, you can make it like bigger, but like it does stretch the image because it's not supposed to be. It's not natively widescreen or whatever. So I started that. Had a laugh, and then I'm gonna probably get back to it. Started Paper Mario, and that's actually surprisingly fun, despite a lot of the.
What would it be surprisingly?
There was a weird hatred around it because you don't get XP from battles. You just get coins, and so like the older Mario, it's not really an RPG, and a lot of people see Paper Mario as the Mario RPGs.
Chrono Cross doesn't have any XP. So, I mean,
but it's different. You still like level up, sort of like you get HP and
like in Chrono Cross.
No. That's Chrono Cross. And Mario, you don't get anything other than coins. And the coins buy stuff, but like you don't really need. You get a lot of coins like in that game, and like stuff isn't super expensive, so it's like
it's Nintendo.
There's a weird balance, but the level design so far and the writing and the level design is like fucking immaculate. The level design is so. It almost reminds me of Odyssey, where there's always that weird thing tucked in the thing behind the thing where you're like, whoa, they thought everything. Look at this. It's like they bake this little tiny cake and there's like so much in there. How do you do it?
I love
food
cake.
Puns. But most importantly, I'm playing a game called Ghost of Tsushima, which is fucking awesome. It's got its hooks in me, man. It's like the first game I think I've played this year that wasn't like a remake or remaster or whatever. The first game, not considering like Final Fantasy VII, is a new game in my opinion. But I mean, like not like Xenoblade. The only other two games I played this year that I thought about when I wasn't playing them were Chrono Trigger and Xenoblade Chronicles. But those are also two of the most like lauded RPGs of all time.
You don't think about games when you're not playing games? Why are we even here?
I don't know, like the Last of Us, when I was playing through it, I wasn't like, man, I can't wait to get back to The Last of Us. So sort of just like, okay,
fun.
I'll play this. And I had fun when I was playing it, but like I wasn't like, I wasn't thinking about it. And man, Ghost of Tsushima I've been thinking of quite a bit when I haven't been playing it. And I'll have a proper impressions video up hopefully later this week. And we'll dive deeper into that. But so far, I am highly enjoying it, and it may come up a time or two on today's topic.
Whoa!
They say, I mean, oh man, you know what I mean? It's like,
No.
If you like samurais and you like horses, go buy it.
What if I just like samurais?
Still go buy it.
Okay.
You can attack. You can be mean to your horses.
Yes. The games don't allow you to be mean to horses. What's up with that?
You know what I don't like though?
You can shoot dogs in the face, but don't be mean to a horse.
No, yeah. The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima both have you kill dogs, but yeah, you can't kill. Well, No, you can kill horses. Wait a second.
Game of the year.
There's literally like
Game of the
convoys
year.
where the horse is carrying gunpowder, and you can like shoot that shit with a flaming arrow and
Awesome.
like blow that fucking horse to shit. But see, at least the dogs, like the dogs in The Last of Us, when you kill them, like it's like the screen zooms in real big, and it's like kind of like, oh god. But like the ones in Ghost of Tsushima are just like these big, fat fucking Mongolian asshole dogs, and they're just like, rah, like fuck you. They're big dicks.
Mongolian asshole dogs.
I want everyone to just draw me a picture of what they're picturing in their head when I say Mongolian dog. Like,
Mongolian asshole dog.
What is that? Goddamn Mongolian.
My shitty wall.
Goddamn shitty walk.
All right. So
shitty beef.
if we're done, then we got some. Do we have any news? Has anything happened the past week?
Well, things have happened and things are going to happen, and I guess we'll talk about the thing that has already happened, which we won't spend too much time on because there's not a lot of time.
or things to say, really.
Things to say. A leaked Nintendo Direct came out like, a few weeks ago, and it gained traction, and people were like, and there was like credible, like real leakers that are like generally usually correct, and a lot of them were like saying the same exact shit. And most people were like, oh, you're gonna hear about the new Mario collection on this Direct, even though Nintendo didn't really announce it. So it is on us, or on the people who got hyped, because Nintendo didn't come out and like, they weren't like, hey, there's a fucking Direct, get excited. They were like, there's not a thing. And then they came out with it. They sort of just, they shadow dropped it, but the only reason people got hyped was because...
No, they didn't shadow drop it the day before.
Well,
the day before they announced
it.
Before.
Yeah, they were like...
It wasn't, Like,
there's going to be...
They announced it as in a Nintendo Direct mini, like, indie showcase. So if anyone was...
it was a partner showcase or whatever.
Yeah, so, like, if anyone got excited, if anyone was, like, still hyped about first-party games at that point, you're an idiot. Because...
Yeah, no. At that point, everyone knew we weren't gonna see or anything. But
no, there are people who still. I saw on the Twitters, people were like, "Woo, Metroid Trilogy!" It's like, you're cute.
we went from like thinking it was going to be a full blown Direct to then thinking it was just going to be a Mario Direct, which I was like, "That's still cool. I'm still down for that. Let's do it." Cool. And then they were like, "It's a mini partner Direct," so I'm like, "Okay, so it's third party mini." It's probably going to be a couple of announcements. Maybe we'll get one or two cool, like, new things that, like, partner shit. Or we'll get that, like, it's available now thing, which we did. But, oh boy. Even if you were not hyped at all, like, I think the main thing I thought of after I watched that was, why does this exist? Why did they do this? Like, it feels like they could have. That's all the stuff they should have just snuck into a regular Direct, or none of that needed to get announced except for that. To me, basically what they did is they said, "Here's DLC for Cadence of Hyrule," which again, awesome. I enjoyed that game. It was really cool, made by an indie studio, Zelda. It was really charming, and really cool DLC. It was a good announcement, but it could have been totally on its own and been fine. We got that, and then we got some weird, random, free-to-play, third-person shooter.
Rogue Warrior or something like that.
The most generic-looking and
it looked super generic.
Thing. It was like third-person shooter game. The game.
There's guys with guns and they run around and they shoot each other.
And I was like, okay, this is the low point. There's nothing that could get me less hyped than that. And then they announce WWE Battlegrounds.
I don't know. I don't hate that game. I don't hate that game. Like, I honestly, I miss when sports games were more irreverent. So hopefully this is kind of like... I do too, but
hopefully
this is like... hopefully more studios will be like, hey, maybe there's an actual market for like making an arcade style football game, or making an arcade style basketball game, or arcade style soccer game. Because like nowadays it's like just oversaturated. Well, not much anymore because I don't think sports games really sell much. But when they did, it was like simulation,
career simulation. I would have traded this entire Direct the entire thing if for them to just come out and say NBA Jam is now on the Super Nintendo thing.
Ew, gross.
Boom.
Super Nintendo version? Come on, man.
Oh, whatever.
What's wrong with you?
It's the Super Nintendo, whatever. What's the difference?
Is
there really a difference?
I'm just kidding.
I was like, I know there's like big differences in like Mortal Kombat and shit.
Console war. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, me too. But I mean, I don't know. I like to look at the positive side when it comes to like weird stuff like that because I'd rather they put some weird arcadey wrestling game because I used to love weird arcadey wrestling games back in the day.
On the
it's been
Genesis,
a long time.
I remember there was like one, I can't ever remember what it's called, but it was just like I don't know, it had like Papa Shango and Undertaker, and it was like fun, ridiculous.
I think it was WrestleMania.
Was it just WrestleMania?
I think so.
And they like had the bios for each guy. Yeah. And you could like read about like
had really cool music, and it kind of played like
from like Death Valley and shit. And he like
and it had that photo, like the Mortal Kombat photo style.
Yeah.
Of all the people, yeah, that was a great game. See, like when I see this new wrestling game, I think of that game. I mean, it doesn't look. I don't really like the style per se, but I mean, if it's fun, maybe people will like it, and then like maybe they'll start making actual fun sports games. I don't know.
I don't know, like a 16-bit, like, or you know, like that style, Genesis style fucking wrestling game sounds so much more appealing to me than what we saw. But I mean, you know, that wasn't for me. Definitely wasn't for me.
No.
And then, I mean, then we got Nocturne. That was like it was just Nocturne, and then Persona. Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Same thing. Let's be honest.
Which, well, and this is coming from a person who actually played the shit out of Nocturne on PS2. I played.
What's up with everyone always hating on Shin Megami Tensei fans?
I don't know.
What is that?
Nocturne was fun, dude. Those games were a precursor to for Persona, anyways. Like a lot of
it all comes from like digital.
A lot of the enemies,
Digital
a lot of the
Demon
enemies
Saga.
are like the same exact fucking enemies. But in Nocturne, fucking Dante from Devil May Cry is a boss fight. Like that's pretty cool. So
I don't know. I don't know. Announcing
I'm gonna totally play it.
A remaster and then announcing the fifth one or whatever. Whatever.
Here was my biggest problem though with all of this. Mainly is the number one biggest announcement was, you know, Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Nocturne coming to, you know, the Switch. And it's like, oh, cool, you know, because the Switch is a great RPG machine. And
those games haven't been on a Nintendo console in a long time. I think the 3DS and DS had some spin-offs of SMT.
Nocturne hasn't been on, I don't think Nocturne's been on anything but PS2.
But PS2, yeah.
I think that's like all it's been on.
Like originally they came from the Super Nintendo. I think they're originally on the NES or the Famicom.
Nocturne's worth a lot of money now too.
Shin Megami Tensei.
And then, but my biggest thing was, I don't understand why this was a direct. I feel like
it was a direct mini, dude.
But it wasn't even a direct mini because we've gotten a direct mini where they announced a bunch of smaller games. When we got because when we got the 2K collection stuff, that was a direct mini, and they announced like the Borderlands and BioShock and all that stuff for the Switch, and they announced a bunch of small things, and this was just 5 games, basically 4 games. Not really, almost even. It wasn't even because Cadence of Hyrule it was just DLC. It was like, why didn't they just release a Shin Megami Tensei trailer? And then WWE could release their own damn trailer. And then like that other game is whatever. Like I don't know. It felt weird because it direct to me feels like it should be at least like 6 games.
Too bad.
6 games. Like if it's not at least 6 games,
you don't get to decide what a direct is.
It feels just pointless for them to even have a showcase.
But I think they're, from what I've heard from Nintendo, like their marketing thing is they're going to release a lot of these. They're going to release a lot of minis instead of big direct.
I guess my main problem was Nocturne and what they should have done is Nocturne should have been like available now. It should have just been like download it. And then Shin Megami Tensei 5 is the like, you know, here's the tease. But the problem with those two is both of them are coming 2021. Like I was like, wait, what? Like, why are you announcing this now? Because to me that seems weird.
Nintendo, man.
Nintendo's been actually playing their
Nintendo.
cards very close to their vest, so I don't understand why they're like
That's
doing
Atlas.
this announcement. It's like, and this game's coming never. Like
But
2021
that's
is
Atlas though.
most of us are going to be dead by then.
Oh,
You
you
know
were
what I mean?
saying that was probably Atlas's decision. How do you know that wasn't Atlas's decision to do so?
Because I know everything.
Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. Robin mad and Robin.
I'm just saying, like, wow, never expect anything from Nintendo. Just be happy when we get stuff.
I will say the plus is that just goes to show how good their directs have been. Is that that's how hyped people get, because we're like, fuck, Breath of the Wild 12.
No, it's just Nintendo is a drug dealer, and they had that old try some, buy some, and now we're all fiends.
Yeah, and I was talking to Justin at Twin Liquors in here today, and I was just like, dude, like we were talking about, like they could literally have announced, like, or they could we don't know anything about the end of this year, but it's like all they have to do is like, here's the Mario collection, here's Metroid Prime trilogy, and here's like those 2 Zelda HD games, and they wouldn't have to do like anything. They wouldn't have to do anything. Like that's like already like made. It's all just like whatever. Just here you go. Because the Mario games don't need to be. They're rumored. They're not even going to be like, they're not going to be HD. We're not getting like Mario 64 HD or anything. We're just going to get like a slightly up-res Mario 64. It'll be kind of like Final Fantasy VIII.
How do you know? Maybe it'll be a totally remade. How do you know? This is
I
Nintendo.
don't just told you.
Don't ever expect anything out of Nintendo. They'll give you whatever they want to give you, and you'll like it.
I will. We're all
so
going for punishment, and they know we're not going.
Don't even have expectations.
Nintendo could come out and be like, "We're gonna have a direct," and then Doug Bowser walks out and just flips off everyone.
Where's Doug Bowser, man? I miss seeing his face.
Yeah, and he's the new face of Nintendo, and he's just gone.
Yeah.
Anyways,
what's up with that? That's weird.
So the other piece of news we had was more like speculation, because we're gonna do we're having the Xbox Microsoft big reveal tomorrow, and I just wanted to quickly run through like what I think might be announced, what I want to be announced. I don't know, and then if you have anything to add, so supposedly it's going to be a big thing. So it's supposed to be like an hour long.
Ah, dang, boy.
It's going to be a bunch of stuff. The difference here is with the PlayStation event was pretty long, but like we didn't know what it even looked like yet. So like a big part of that was like just revealing the console and
slowly,
whereas this is like, we already know that. We've actually even seen Microsoft's little like first conference where they revealed it, and we were all kind of like, okay. You didn't even show gameplay. So I think they should take a lot of critiques that they didn't show gameplay. So they should be showing a lot of gameplay. And I want to say the number one game I want to see and I want to fucking hear about is Tunic.
Blue Dragon. Oh.
Did you hear? Have you seen? Do you even know what this game is? Yes, I would totally get a Blue Dragon.
I would be down for a Blue Dragon too, because that was one of the only games I played on a 360 was that game. For obvious reasons.
That was Akira Toriyama was part of that, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think that was a Enix game as well. I think. Yeah,
it was definitely an Enix game, right?
But what Tunic? That sounds familiar.
So Tunic was this game Microsoft released, like trailer for like a long time ago. We've seen nothing of it since. We've seen it multiple times, and it was a Microsoft exclusive, top down. It was before we ever saw Link's Awakening, the remake. But it had that look to it. It had that like depth, that like almost like the Octopath,
like 3D dot game heroes or whatever.
That tilt shift camera thing where like it's like got that like blur effect, but it basically looks like Microsoft's like an indie Microsoft version of like an older Zelda game, but you're a fox and you wear this like green tunic.
Oh, okay, I do remember that.
You have a sword and you solve puzzles and shit, but it looks so fucking charming. Yeah, and we haven't seen anything about that game. And if I don't see that game, I will burn my Xbox at my house.
Isn't it funny about Xbox? They've become like people. Like it's like they're indie studios that are under their wing are making the big splashes now. You know, like Cuphead, Ori. Isn't that funny? Like they used to just be like the big beefcake. Right?
The best Xbox exclusive
this
generation were the Ori games and Cuphead.
Yeah, it's so weird. Because Xbox used to just be like Halo, Gears of War,
Yeah, they were the big heavy hitters,
Yeah,
and then they were like, bye.
bombastic action stuff. Yeah, now they're
Um,
doing all these, which I mean, it's smart in the long run. Them kind of scooping up these indie developers. So yeah, I mean, like a new, it's works for them so far. If they came out with this Tunic game and really pushed it, I think.
it looks
And
so good. Everyone go watch a trailer of Tunic. It looks so good. It looks so fucking cool.
is that a reference to Link? He's wearing a tunic?
No, there's no way. No way. There's no way. He's a fox, not a human.
So Fox not a human.
He's not a human. He's
Yeah, it's not a
fox.
human.
Hey.
So what do you think about this Halo? What is it? Halo Infinite?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot
well,
of rumors.
they need to quit using the same words in multiple video games and
For
just
real.
come up with there's so many words.
I know. Like you know what what I'm ready for a return? Numbers.
Numbers
Just
or
give me numbers.
here's just the coolest word in the English language in my opinion, and you could put it as a fucking subtitle to any video game and it would make it sound badass. Citadel.
What?
Such a cool fucking word, bro. Halo
What?
Citadel, right there, best game ever.
How
Because
about just like Halo 6 or like Halo 0?
you're fired. Yeah, Halo Zero would be cool.
Yeah. Make
Halo
it
X.
make it like a real prequel or something. Yeah. Yeah, just max it with their whole X thing that they've
I'm
been
so
doing.
tired of the rise of Shadow of
Yeah, it's become
fucking Infinite.
a,
Yeah,
a trope in itself.
yeah. It's almost like
it's-
like the way that Legend was on PS1 RPGs. It was like every other
Yeah.
fucking PS1 RPGs was Legend.
Or like in the
of
early
something.
2000s, every movie poster was like blue, blue and brown.
It's blue. Oh yeah, the sepia. Remember when we had the sepia games?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was like
Oh gosh,
we had the
late
sepia single
games.
title games like Rage and Haze.
Resistance.
We just had all these weird one word short what was the other one? There was another one that was Black. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the one with the guns on the front. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
It's
The one
those
with
two
the
games.
guns on the front.
Well, it was like literally just like
Yeah,
a
it was-
gun,
I know
some
it's-
bullets. It was like, well, hey, at least it was simple, evocative. And
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
That's a good cover.
So I know what I am expecting is a good showcase, but I don't know. I still don't know how it can beat what Sony did, because again, we already have the wonder taken away from us because we already know what the box and the controller look like, which are like the controller. I think it was such a huge misfire.
The controller's just the
It's the
previous
same.
controller.
I mean, just give it some identity. I mean, at least the
Yeah.
box looks different from an Xbox, but like it's still kind of a boring design, but it's fine. If the controller was something cool, or like the Elite controller was like now the new standard controller or something like that, like just I don't know, it's weird.
No,
but
I think
whatever.
Xbox is doing a very different thing than Sony. Sony has kind of gone back to the traditional kind of like, hey, let's make consoles, you know.
Well,
let's make
Sony's doing-
consoles again. Let's make it this special looking, special like exclusive device. And I mean, Xbox's end game has always been to make it a computer. Like that's always been their end game.
Yeah,
you know?
and what Sony's always been really smart at doing is saddling that middle ground between Xbox and Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're just crazy enough to kind of be on like a little bit of the Nintendo side, but
Yeah.
they're also like techie enough, and work with the visuals and
I think it's because they are in the end a Japanese company, so I think they
just
have
in general. To
Yeah, like
us, they're going to be quirky and offbeat at some point.
because I don't know, the Japanese culture is just, in terms of like video games, it's just a different video game culture over there than over here. So I think they'll always have like like they're at their first they just made electronic equipment, so it's like they'll always have one foot in the hardware kind of techie stuff.
Yeah,
But they'll always
which is what makes Nintendo
they know they're
and
there to make
Sony.
games.
Nintendo and Sony just coexist so easily because obviously they're direct competitors and they don't coexist very well at all. But like, I mean, as far as
in a market ecosystem sense,
Yeah.
they play off each other well enough.
yeah, which I mean, because if say Microsoft was out of Japan and Sony was out of America, then Nintendo and Sony would be playing just the same game. But yeah, I mean, I think personally, yeah, what they need to do is release games we care about, and
I think so.
the end of that is basically like we need to see maybe some more exclusive acquisitions of studios. Like I think right now one of the
Bring back
easier
Scalebound. People will be like,
yeah,
what?
we're Scalebound, or
They
or
canceled it for no reason, as far as
Like-
I know.
you and me were talking about it earlier today, but you know what's fucking totally an Xbox exclusive is Jade Empire.
Mm-hmm.
How
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
a
they could
remaster
still,
and then like release a sequel of that game.
yeah, like go through BioWare because Xbox or Microsoft published that game. If you look at the box art, hold on. Only on Xbox. There it is.
Pre-owned $9.99, pro membership $7.99.
You can still play this on your Xbox One, baby.
Yeah,
And it's fucking great, man. Don't
it is
sleep
cool.
on Jade Empire. But yeah, man, if we could get them to like, and maybe there's a reason why stuff like Beyond Good and Evil wasn't shown at Ubisoft. Maybe because that was another thing that was an Xbox exclusive too.
Oh, that's totally true. I forgot about that being.
Maybe that's a Ubisoft.
Yeah, maybe they're waiting for.
If they acquire not necessarily studios, but just IPs, if they just get some of their IPs back.
Even just timed exclusives will be fine. I'm actually kind of okay with timed exclusives.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy VII is a
like I'm kind of fine with it, because I think like competition is good in general, and when it comes to the console market, there's only 3, so they better have some diversity in terms of software. Because if you don't, then what's the point? What's the point of having 3 consoles if if every game releases on all 3 consoles all the time at the same time? Like,
yeah,
what's the point of that? But yeah, that'd be cool if they released. Yeah, that's probably what they're doing, because that is weird that they haven't. No one's mentioned Beyond Good and Evil.
That game is
E3
like
season
been in development for so
like
long,
7 years or something like that.
and I really liked the first
Probably
game,
longer.
and I was just kind of like, where is the second one? Also, another thing to think about, another big one, Ubisoft could have possibly be, because remember, also Splinter Cell was exclusive for a while. Chaos Theory, I believe, was one of the biggest Xbox sellers, and that game came out to 10 out of 10s, and everybody loved it. And then I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was exclusive to Xbox at first, and then it eventually came to like GameCube and PS2, but like down the road. But yeah, anyways, that there could be some stuff they could do. The other thing I think they need to do, like need to do, is come out with a Fable game. Just we need Fable. Like if you don't have
that last
I'm gonna roll my
Fable
so
D&D game wasn't good enough for you. Remember that game? Where you like played as cool concept. Honestly, I was like, that's really cool. But then
the Fable, like Fable,
what was it called?
Legends.
Yeah, was it Fable Legends?
It
was kind of like a D&D like kind of like dungeon crawler.
But it didn't.
It looked
work.
cool, but it fizzled. Yeah. No one talked about it.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. It was real bad. But yeah, I mean, if Fable, just make a Fable game. Come on, like that's the big thing, because I mean, Xbox has like shooters. They have like Halo and Gears. You're good. You're good on that front. You got it. And then you got Forza. And then like after that, it's like, okay, what else do you have?
Which is really funny, because the 360 era, like they had a lot of JRPG exclusives in the West. You know what I mean? Like the West, like it's specifically the West. Like they released a ton of JRPGs on the 360 that didn't even come out Japan. Like they just made them for the Xbox.
Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon.
So like, why? I don't know.
First
strike up another
360's life cycle was so heavy with exclusive. It was like you could only play most of these games at first, like Oblivion.
Yeah.
All these games, BioShock, all these games took forever to come to the PS3. They eventually did, and of course now in retrospect, I think the PS3 is a better console just because it doesn't just burn up and explode. But
yeah, but those Bethesda games run like garbage on the PS3 though.
Yeah, because of the memory, the weird memory.
Yeah,
I never ran into that. I actually
I did quite often.
Yeah,
I saved a lot in the game, and that ends up messing up the game for some.
Yeah, I guess if you keep your saves to a minimum, because I usually would do I'd cycle between 3 saves and in a game like that.
Yeah, I usually keep 1 save. Like an idiot.
But yeah, I mean, I think if they come out of the gate, like I said, it doesn't really matter about them acquiring studios. They need to come out with some games that people care about. And I think
because they've acquired some good studios.
If they came out with Jade Empire 2, the Fable 4, or just Fable probably at this point,
or just reboot it. Yeah, just reboot.
And Fable Legends 2.
Fable Infinite.
If they came out Beyond Good and Evil is an Xbox exclusive. Jade Empire 2 and Fable, because the big thing that Xbox needs is action adventure titles that PS4 has so many amazing exclusive action adventure titles like fucking Spider-Man, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, god damn, Uncharted, they have so many. God of War, you could just sit here and rattle it off. And for Xbox to, and we've even done the remake thing where we have that full remakes of Shadow of the Colossus, and then we have Final Fantasy VII remake, which it's not, it's just a different game, but still that's remake. Super cool. And JRPGs like Persona and even Nier you can buy on Xbox finally, but you still can't get a physical copy of that game. And I know not everyone gives a shit about physical copies, but
that's crazy.
You cannot buy a physical copy of Nier Automata on Xbox One, even though it's there. It just does not. The physical copy does not exist. It took me a long time to realize that, because I was working at GameStop for forever, and I was like, I would never see box art for we never get the actual case. I never see Nier for Xbox, and I realized it was just never physical. Kind of weird.
I don't
considering
know.
It has the most beautiful box art ever, because it's done by the fucking guy who did the art for all the mainline Final Fantasies.
Yoshitaka Amano.
Yeah, all those amazing box art.
Yeah.
Fucking what is it? No, damn it. Why is that not?
What are you doing, man? What's wrong with you?
Oh, because it's the PS1 cover that has the artwork that I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the
Yoshitaka Amano. He does.
Yeah, so
he did all the concept work.
Yeah, it's fucking 2B, and she's holding whatever his name is. She's holding him, and it's just got that artwork is so cool, and it's always really I don't know, it's just some of the best artwork on fucking game covers ever, and it's weird. Anyways, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see what they have to announce.
I have no horse in this race, so whatever. I'll watch it, and I'll critique it, but again, I got no horse. It's I hope they do well. I hope they think about Microsoft. They've lacked identity the last generation. They just haven't. They don't have that. They're just kind of hey, we have a box and you can play games on it. That's all you'll do.
Like I said, the best games, we were talking about, the best games were indie games like Cuphead and Ori, and those are now on Switch.
Yeah.
I mean, not the second Ori, but the first one and the second one.
Yeah, it'll be on there. Yeah.
And it almost seems like they don't have much of an interest in exclusives, because they're just
I think they don't, because I remember they wanting to branch out. One when they branched out to Nintendo, which was unprecedented, and then they started melding their software together with Windows. Remember when they did that at the beginning of the last generation, where they're if you buy this, you can also buy it on Windows. You can get it on Windows for free. Remember they tried to do that thing. So I think their long game, again, it's not just hardware wise, but software wise, is try to kind of blend it, make
it's an ecosystem,
make it into a PC, which is it's nice, I guess, but it leads to no personality. It's okay, so it's a PC. Why don't I just get a PC?
We're already seeing that. Yeah, exactly. We're already seeing that.
I don't understand.
In the design of the consoles.
I mean, it literally looks like a tiny PC.
I've heard people complain the PS5 looks dumb or looks weird or looks stupid or whatever.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah,
it looks weird.
I'm not gonna sit here and defend it with my life. I think I side on defense that I think it's pretty cool looking.
I mean, it looks
like,
cool, but you can't like. I can understand someone going, "That looks dumb." I'll be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I think it looks cool."
but it has personality.
But it has
That's the
personality.
thing. And I understand people are like, well, it's going to clash with my setup at home, or blah blah blah. And, like the Xbox is going to look, it's like going to look all nice, and I'm like, yeah, because you don't want your consoles to stand out. I do. That's why I have a big fucking purple Super Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like, that's why my fucking game. That's why I have a big fucking cube on, a Nintendo GameCube. Like, that's why. Like, I'm not trying to keep my console. Like, I like when the consoles stand out on your shelf because people are like, oh, cool, you have that. Like, if you go into someone's house and they have a bunch of Nintendo consoles set up, immediately recognize every single one of them, and they stand out because that's what they're supposed to do. They look cool. Fuck them. No, so, anyways.
Coming into the next generation, yeah, they need to get some personality. They need
to
start taking advantage of exclusives.
I'm going to make a bold assumption here. I think they're going to announce Rare is going to announce something big in
Banjo Kazooie.
Either they're going to announce a remake of Banjo Kazooie, like which they could, or they're going to do a Banjo 3. Or they're going to do some sort of Perfect Dark thing. I don't know, but my money is on Banjo. I think they're going to do either a remake or a Banjo, three Banjos, whatever they do.
Are they going to remaster that really terrible one for 360, the one with the cars?
Nuts and Bolts.
Nuts and Bolts. Yeah. Oh my god! What if they did that? They dropped a remaster of Nuts and Bolts. People would be
I actually like Nuts and Bolts. Like it wasn't the best game ever, but it was
hot take. I've never been a fan of those games in general.
I see why, like, they're not like, because
they're collectathons, and I'm not that big of a collectathon guy.
Like, they were on a system that also Mario 64 was on. So it was like
why play Banjo when you can play Mario?
I played this shit out of Banjo Kazooie, and it's funny because I had Banjo Kazooie and the Offspring album Americana. I got at the exact same time.
Isn't that
funny? All of my Banjo Kazooie memories are
I have certain games that are tied to certain albums because I listened to the hell out of the album while I was playing the game. So it's like they're just fused,
just like
together.
Morrowind on Xbox is always going to be tied to the Franz Ferdinand debut album. Is like I played those, like they were side by side because especially with those open world games, like I don't need to listen to the soundtrack or whatever, and I was just like take me out, I'd like walking around with like a sword dancing and shit. Anyways, so that's our kind of like small predictions for the Xbox conference. Do you have any other things you wanted to add?
Not at all.
So we are here today. We're going to move on to our main topic to talk about, damn it, what makes a great open world game? Speaking of Morrowind. Yeah, that was a really good segue that I totally missed.
You totally, you have some stinkers, but when you have a good one, they just pass right by you.
We have open worlds, John.
So what makes, this is coming from a person who doesn't really like open world games because they usually aren't good enough for me. Like in terms of like they're yeah, man. I have.
It's not me. It's you.
It really is because I know it's me, not the game, because people really love stuff like Far Cry and stuff like Assassin's Creed, where it's just the most kind of generic go dots on a map kind of open world, and they like that stuff. I don't. So I made a little list of things that, to me, kind of would make the best open world game.
Now, there's a few games that I feel like we might need to clear up that are continuously talked about as open world games, but I think some people might disagree with that.
Really?
I think the number one, the one
first you want to define an open world game.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Like, it's just a game where you can just start and go pretty much any direction and start exploring and do whatever you want, right? Once you get past a certain tutorial point.
See, I can't agree with that definition really, because I always, because there's like open world games and there's like large zone games. which I think
Yeah,
of like
is the
like,
first Zelda an open world game? You know, like because technically,
yes.
by the nature of
Yeah.
you can go anywhere from the very beginning.
But if you look at like something like Final Fantasy 12, which has these really open areas, but they're all connected, so it could be seen as an open world game, but since it's segmented so much, it it feels a little more linear.
Or Xenoblade Chronicles is another example of that. But I think it's even a harder one to decide because that one has even bigger environments.
I think it's just in terms of like there has to be the lowest amount. There has to be the lowest amount of
there's not a horse
area transitions. You know what I mean? It has to all be. It has to be as close to one as possible. I mean, there's stuff like Witcher 3, which is like, oh my gosh, it's so freaking big. Like you have to have multiple like maps because that was smart because if they were to try to do it all, they would have been impossible and it would not have been fun if it was just this big one thing. So that was really smart. Would I call that an open world game? Yes, because those zones are big enough.
Oh
so
yeah,
it's like a, you know.
Well, they're almost like each one is its own fucking DLC pack or something. Yeah. Like it's because it's like Blood and Wine is its own zone and it's basically its own game. But pretty much each one of those regions is its own game. Yep. Like Skellige is like its own fucking game. The mainland in the beginning is like its own game. Like Blood and Wine.
So I think that's one. I don't know. Witcher 3 kind of did a lot of things right in terms of design. I think Breath of the Wild did a lot of good things in terms of like topography design.
Thank you, Monolith Soft.
They helped.
They did a lot because Nintendo literally they came to them and they were like, "We don't know how to make an open world. Like, we don't understand," and that makes it even more hard to think about those Xenoblade games. It's like because Xenoblade's not really open world, but it's kind of is.
I mean, X is a definite open world.
Yeah, I think the other ones are just more segmented by story and stuff like that.
It's more of a Final Fantasy 12. I always use Final Fantasy 12 as like that gray area of just a large linear game, basically, like a large segmented linear game.
Yeah, because there's also stuff like that you could argue Nier Automata or Deus Ex.
Yeah, I would not call those.
No, to me those are definitely like the emergent, like because especially with Nier Automata, like there's times where it feels open world, but like it's not very big, and you can I don't know there, and it also has big segmented areas, and you know it's very deliberate. It's not meant. Some of these games aren't meant entirely for exploration. So and then my other question to you. This is another one that I struggle with. I really don't have an answer. I just want to bring it to the table. Shadow of the Colossus. Is that an open world game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good discussion. Thank you guys for watching the critical video.
I think it is because it's more of like it's like a sense of like geographic and like gameplay unity that has to be unified. You know what I mean? Because like the more unified it is, the closer it is to an open world. Because that's the whole point of an open world is like it's a single open place. That's why the first Zelda is an open world game because it's just one big old map. You know, there's a few caves and then like you know the 6 or so dungeons and that's it.
Yeah, I guess technically you can't fight for the first Colossus. I mean, you can't fight the Colossus in the order you want, but you can still technically go to those areas before you fight them and just like run around and collect lizard tails or whatever.
So to me,
I think what that game did that really was revolutionary was like hide certain areas behind like veils that made you feel like you weren't supposed to be there. Because technically you can just go wherever you want from the beginning.
Yeah.
But like you for some reason feel so much safer behind that little beam of light.
That reminds me.
You can go so many places, but you don't.
I would even consider some of the mid-era Metroidvanias to be open world because they have the same They have the same kind of design philosophy of like, well, single large map, and then you have areas that you can't go, but you have to explore, and you're able to get items or abilities to open up and explore more. So it's not really segmented as much as if it's just the gameplay mechanics kind of corral you to go to certain areas.
It's almost like if you're talking about Symphony of the Night and you ask somebody, you're like, is it an open world game? Is it a Metroidvania? Is it an RPG? Or is it like an action RPG? Or is it just like an action game? And you just say,
yes. Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah, no, but Metroidvanias are I would call those open world games. Most of the time, they take the motif of having a single world, right?
I kind of disagree. I mean, I see where you're coming from, and it is because at its very core, I do think those are like, because to me the genesis of open world was like a mixture of, you know, Final Fantasy 1, Dragon Warrior, and Zelda, and whatever PC nerd shit was out at that time.
Yeah, who cares about those guys? Those guys are weirdos.
Ultima, whatever.
Wizardry, get out of here.
Wizards and fire spells.
Alcabeth. Get out of here with your muds.
Fire pillar, level 5. So.
Well, gelatinous cube, but no. I love that. That's a what is that?
You know, we want our slimes, and we like them slimy.
Yes, we like cute, rotund slimes. Okay, I don't want my slimes to be weird and cubic. All right, that's weird.
Sounded like Tim Rogers just now.
Video games.
We like our rotund slimes. Thank you. So, yeah, I don't know. It is weird because to me, like, yeah, at the very core of it, it's like those are games that are meant to incite exploration, and that is exactly what Metroid and Castlevanias, Castle Metroids. Can we call them Castroids?
All right.
Castroids.
I hate it, but I'll allow it.
Hate it more than Metroidvania.
No, I've made peace with Metroidvania.
Good. So I think at the very core they are like, they're meant for exploration, and that's how I felt when I started Metroid for the first time. I was like, holy shit, like atmosphere, exploration. I can just like, where do I even go? And yeah, there's times where I first time I ever played Super Metroid, I got stuck as fuck, and I tried to call the Nintendo hotline. I got really in trouble because there's one part in that game where you just have to blow apart a secret wall, and that's like the only way forward. And if you like, and I tried to call the Nintendo hotline, made a big bill for my phone, and my parents were mad at me.
Did you know that the Nintendo hotline was up until like 2010 or something?
Really?
Yeah, or like the mid-aughts or something crazy like that. It's like,
that's
what?
Amazing.
Who the heck was using that? I want to know. I want to know who's calling for Mario Galaxy. Hey, I can't get past the B level.
There's a dude in backwoods who's got a landline that didn't have internet. Like, hey, I'm trying to beat
some guy in Alaska is trying to beat Wii Sports.
I don't know how I can get the goddamn bowling ball. I'm good at bowling in real life, but I can't get this goddamn ball in the damn pins. This thing fucking rigged.
Yeah, I learned that and had a good laugh.
Catch a ride.
So the spirit, the spirit of open world is one of exploration. Is what you're saying?
Yes. Discovery to me. Okay, so to me, there's the passable and good open world games that are generally, like, for me. I know a lot of people love them, but like for me, those are like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry. You know, the newer Ghost Recon games or whatever. I actually don't really like those, but people do. And then there's those which don't really do anything special, but they act as they have a very important role, which is that role of junk food. Now, for me, what elevates
it's like those big duffel bags of popcorn.
Yeah, I mean
that you buy at Walmart for like $10.
I have a great time. I buy every Assassin's Creed. I buy every Far Cry because I like those games. They're fun. Right. I have a good time playing them. But after I'm done, I just go, huh.
How long did I play that game? Oh, yeah.
I mean, each entry, obviously, they're different, right? They differ. Like, I mean, Far Cry 3 to me is the pinnacle of the series. But, like, because that was the first one that was like, it's like Skyrim with guns, because, like, the Far Cry 2 was open world. But, like, this was the first one. It was just like you could just fucking paraglide into wherever and, like, dive under the ocean and kill a shark and then take its skin and make it into an armor or whatever, or a weapon. And,
so if the spirit of open world is the kind of cyclical like gameplay of exploration and discovery, then wouldn't that make Metroidvanias open world then?
By that definition, yes. I just think they're so. I have a hard time putting the mark of an open world game on a side scroller. Because you're really only able to go.
Yeah, but if you look at like, so I mean, it has almost the same exact movement as a top-down Zelda game.
Which
it actually has more movement than a top-down Zelda game.
Link can jump really high in those games
with a rock feather. Maybe.
Why is it called a rock feather? So
actually,
the
rock is a reference to.
Yeah, no, I think that's I think it is kind of a weird thing, but to me, like, what makes a great like open world game, like, to me, when I think of those, I think of, like, Bethesda at their crowning achievements at their Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim. That, like, even Morrowind. I loved Morrowind a lot. I know it's a lot more janky than the others.
It's aged the worst.
Yeah, well, each one. That's the thing about those Bethesda games, is at least Elder Scrolls, each one gets better. Can't say the same about Fallout, but
whoa. I would rather play Oblivion.
You're Mr. Oblivion pants.
I would rather play.
I'll give you this. Oblivion had the better ending.
It had a better. I mean, it actually had a good story. I mean, because what was the story in Skyrim? I'm a good guy, and I'm like the chosen one. So, like, I stop like a dragon. So, like, that was the story.
It's the Matrix with dragons. I'm sorry.
Super cool.
I'm sorry. Well, you know what? The fucking Oblivion wasn't fair. For one, it had Patrick Stewart and
Sean Bean.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's not fair.
Suck on that, big boy. Fair. Yeah.
That's
enjoy your.
Like, you're not playing fair.
Enjoy your.
Okay, for one thing, I just want to say this. How did they afford that?
I don't
in
know.
Oblivion, and then in Skyrim we got
they didn't get Jack.
We got what's his name? He's in the beginning of Force Awakens. Like, he's pretty famous. The old man. He plays like the head dude. We got him, and we got the voice of Mario, who plays the voice of the dragon.
Here we go.
He plays the voice of Parthenax.
Oh yeah.
Let's go on my back with the wings.
But
how did they like did not spring for a voice cast in that? They had like a great
because they spent all their money on the marketing.
Yeah,
which worked for them. It did because that game is still selling.
The voice cast in that game is like 4 people. Hello, would you like to play with me a game?
What's wrong? Did somebody steal your sweet roll, little boy? Yeah.
It's the Dragonborn. He's here again to fight us with his Dragonborn's powers.
Isn't my Nord accent believable?
Every single person in that just sounds like the blonde guy in I was going to say Death Clock. What the fuck is the name of the show?
Oh,
Metalocalypse. Yeah.
Yes.
Every single NPC that guy.
Yeah.
But
so
anyways,
I do have a list of stuff that makes a good open world game, regardless of how big it is, or like if we're just going off the definition of
bigger is better.
Discovery. Always. That's my first point. Bigger is better.
Quantity over quality.
You have to have an efficient and fun travel system. You have to.
Very, very important.
You have to be able, because if traversing the world is not fun, then why the hell am I going to do it for 50 hours?
Case in point, Spider-Man on PS4.
Almost every Spider-Man game.
It's a blast to fucking get around.
Spider-Man is the best.
I will also say to that point, most recently, Ghost of Tsushima has the best horse riding I've ever played. It's like super smooth, and somehow you like never run into trees. It feels like it's weird. It just feels like, I don't know. It's just so buttery smooth. And it's like it feels good to ride your horse. Whereas some games it doesn't. Like I even like The Witcher, in my opinion, sometimes it doesn't feel great to ride a horse. And
it wasn't perfect, but it was the best at that point. It was the best horse riding to that point. Before
Breath of the Wild and Ghost of Tsushima.
But like traversal systems, I mean, like the wind sail in Breath of the Wild. Because I mean the game has so much vertical exploration as well as horizontal. So like I don't know, it's just a great designed game because there's so many chances. There's almost constant chances to use your wind sail or whatever the wind thing.
Speaking of that, I do want to ask you. So Breath of the Wild is not the first, contrary to popular belief. Yes, it might be the first like purely open world Zelda game where you can just like go wherever the hell you want from the beginning. But it's not the first open world Zelda game.
No, that's Zelda.
As we established the first one, but then after that, when you got into the 3D Zeldas, would you consider Ocarina of Time an open world game?
Not really. Those are more. See, you brought up Final Fantasy 1 and Dragon Warrior, and I don't really agree that those are open world games because they do have large maps. But the way that the gameplay and the story unfolds, it funnels you extreme to an extreme. I mean, with like Metroidvanias, there's a little bit of funneling, but there's enough breathing room within the map that like it doesn't feel like you're being funneled. But with Final Fantasy, like, yeah, it's constantly like, oh, you gotta get the ship to explore more. Oh, you got to get the canoe to explore more. Oh, you got to get the airship to. But it's nice because it kind of like segments the breadth of the open world. Now, by the end, it's an open world, but you've kind of visited everywhere, so it's like I can get the side quests nicely. So, what was my point with Zelda? I think Ocarina of Time is more like a Final Fantasy kind of segmented expansion than I'd say just the first Zelda. The first Zelda is just like, here's a sword, there's a princess or something. Find her if you want.
But I don't know. Zelda 2 technically is more like the way the Final Fantasies are. Final Fantasy 1's laid out, whereas it follows you. But no. So then moving to like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Personally, I would consider both of those open world games.
Twilight Princess is pretty much just a larger Ocarina
at least
of Time.
Wind Waker is an open world.
Wind Waker, yeah.
There's no way that's not an open world. I mean,
yeah, that's an open world game.
And I guess I was trying to like touch on the traversal mechanic because like I don't think any game has quite nailed like how much fun that game made sailing a fucking boat, right? Like,
at that time, yeah.
That's
super fun. Yeah. With the music and the aesthetic and everything, it was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I just remember being like, holy shit! Like every time I'd be out, and then when there's like you could like take on the pirate ships, and, like, you were like your own pirate. Yeah, that shit was so fun.
Yeah, super fun.
Please, Nintendo. So, but to me, it's okay. To me, I still think like purely open world. I think it still has to be one of those things that once you're kind of set free on the map, it can still be segmented, like The Witcher, or also like Ghost of Tsushima is as well. Like you can't just like it's segmented into 3 maps but it kind of holds them for like its story points, right? Like you can't really get here yet because it doesn't make sense to go over here. But like the world that it presents you is big enough. The areas like in Witcher are big enough to where it's like, okay, this feels like purely like I can just go anywhere, do whatever the hell I want. But to me, what makes the main thing, like I was saying earlier, is that sense of discovery, that sense of like, I'm going at this my own pace. I'm discovering things at my own pace and my own like this
You
feels
can
like
have
my
it.
story.
It has to be both, because you can't just have. I mean, you say that the Assassin's Creed, the Ubisoft style. Let's just call it the Ubisoft style. Even though I don't see it as a style. I see it as like vanilla ice cream. It's just like the most. Okay, I mean, technically it's an open world, just because it's a large world you can explore at your own leisure. Um, I mean, I guess technically that would be an open world, but it has to have like, it has to be an open world game, because that's just an open world. To be an open world game, it has to balance the exploration and discovery. Because if you don't feel like you're,
well, what you're saying in order for it to be a good or great,
yeah, which you think the Ubisoft style is passable. I think it's like the least you can do.
I mean, we've seen some pretty bad stuff that doesn't make it quite through the cracks as much. But like, I think as far as mainstream open world stuff, it's passable. It's the least because they're still fun and they still make an addicting loop. The problem with those games,
I don't agree with that.
The difference with especially personally with stuff like Breath of the Wild and Ghost of Tsushima is that you don't have any direction when you first start. You don't have a map littered with shit to do. It's not just like, and it's same with The Witcher. The Witcher has a bunch of question marks, but you don't even like, I don't think those question marks even show up until you go into
be in the radius.
Area.
Yeah.
So that's actually more so what like Ghost does. And then Zelda doesn't even really do the map marker thing. It just sort of like lets
tag.
you.
I think you can tag stuff with the
thing. You see the shrines and stuff like off in the distance, and you tag them, and then you go there. And yeah, that's kind of like I said, like to me, those 3 games especially, they tackle like that like I said, that sense of discovery, which is also pertinent in the Elder Scrolls games are even different or even more like out there, especially with a Morrowind was just like, what do I do? like no, really, what do I do? Like Breath of the Wild gives you some
but I don't think that makes a open world game necessarily good.
No,
if they just give you.
No, I think they need to give you enough direction to where it's like, and so like for instance, because that's what I'm playing right now. In Ghost of Tsushima, it'll say we need to recruit some allies for a mission, and it'll be like, so they'll put like 2 map markers, and then the rest of the map is not filled out at all, but it'll just have like a golden story marker way over here, and then another one way over here. And it's like, that's all you see on the map.
That brings me to my second point. I think a good open world game has to have some sort of fog of war system. Has to have some sort of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the fog of war. Fog of war is like in war games. It's like you push forward, and then you're probably like Command and Conquer.
Mm-hmm.
I was just black until you go there and it's discovered.
Right. Yeah.
It's like that. Like a good open world game, you have to like. That's why another reason I don't like the Ubisoft system, because it's just there. It's all there. Like it's like, hey, I mean, they changed it a bit with the tower thing that they added in Far Cry. Was it in Far Cry? No, it was. I think they added it in both.
No, it was. I believe it was first in Assassin's Creed 2.
But like making an engaging, like I think Zelda, Breath of the Wild did it really well.
And they actually did learn. I mean, they took the towers from Ubisoft. I mean, they did straight up take Ubisoft's towers, but they were like,
and they did them much better than Ubisoft did.
So many people were like, oh, Ubisoft with the like tower thing, and that's what they do. But it's like, that's not why those games sometimes get stale. And then Breath of the Wild showed us that's not the reason.
Yeah, well, it's not the tower itself. Obviously, it's they didn't use them well.
It just at some point it feels like the game isn't made by a big team of people who absolutely love this project. it feels like this huge team of people who are so disconnected, and it feels like it's video game, and it's like, and it's again, it's really fun, and some of them even have good stories, but like it's some of that stuff, it's just that you're ticking off boxes, and you're not exactly. You're so focused on your mini map and your compass, and all of the HUD.
You need to have a believable. This is another thing that Breath of the Wild does so well: memorable, believable looking, but also still video gamey terrain. Like the topography was always memorable looking, but it never looked unnatural. Like it didn't feel like you were. Nothing looked video gamey. You know what I mean? Like nothing looked. You ever like play Uncharted and you're like, or any Naughty Dog game and you're like, oh, there's some boxes there. I'm about to have a gunfight. Like you see a design.
It breaks. It starts
in an environment.
You start seeing the mold.
Yeah, you start seeing the Matrix and you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen because this environment looks like a video game.
That was one of my little issues with Last of Us 2 was that it had that thing where it was like, I know there's going to be a big gunfight in this room. It's set up so well.
But with Breath of the Wild, like with good open world games, like it's memorable because it never feels like a video game, but it's fun. It's fun to explore them in a game kind of way. It's just good design. Like it feels gamey, but it doesn't feel Matrix gamey. It doesn't feel like you pulled the curtain and you see the little boxes and going, oh, I'm about to have a gunfight. It feels like more organic.
Yeah, see, I think that's the I think art design. I think art design is a big reason why open world game
varied areas.
Like because if you in a Far Cry or Assassin's Creed game, you're like, I guess I'll go over there, but it's like at no point are you just like, oh man, that hill looks so enticing. Or like something about the geometry of the
you know, but I was doing that constantly in Breath of the Wild. I was like, wow, I wonder what's over there. Ooh, wow, I wonder what's over there.
And clearly, like, you know, Sucker Punch took a lot of notes from Breath of the Wild during their development. But like, yeah, that's essentially what they rely on. And for me, I think the one new thing that Ghost does differently that none of the other open world games have done is they do completely away with a HUD. You have no HUD,
or rather, the game is designed to be played without a HUD. Because most games you can take off the HUD.
Right.
But not all games are designed to be
do away with the HUD. Witcher 3, you can completely go blind.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's like hard as fuck mode on Witcher 3.
Whereas, I do like doing that though, because you get a full. Feels more immersive.
In Ghost, a tiny HUD shows up when you're in combat, shows your like health bar, and like, you know, but like otherwise when you're exploring, you're like, you follow the wind and you can tag your objective on the map, and then the wind will blow in that direction, and it's such an ingenious move. It's like one of those new things. It's kind of like that game changer, kind of like the Nemesis system in Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor
that no one really uses.
For some reason, but it was like, God, dude, this is such a game changer. Why don't y'all do this? I think this is more of a game changer than that was, because this is just like, oh, duh, you can fucking follow the wind. And anytime you're like, well, what if the wind isn't blowing, or, you know, it's whatever, you just swipe up on the like on the touchpad, you just swipe up, like, and then the wind blows anytime, and you just go, okay, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
And then for secrets, there's little golden birds or foxes that you follow, and that's like they showed that in the reveal, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but how is that really going to work? And is it really going to be like, that's probably not going to be as cool as it sounds. It is, and it does work. It just works. Like, it's just and of course, once you start filling out the map, you get all these little question marks and shit, just like in The Witcher. But at the very least, like when you are exploring, you're so focused on the environment and of course it's fucking gorgeous, as you can see from the screenshots I've been sharing on Facebook like a tool. But everything is so like, I just want to go everywhere. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, that hill and that fucking mountain is filled with like blue fucking flowers, and then I'm just like, over here there's like a giant field of like red roses and shit.
Beauty is definitely a good enticer for a open world game,
which is what Breath of the Wild is so reliant on that. Which to me, The Witcher it is a little. It's like The Witcher's beautiful, but it's also like such a dark and horrible world.
See, that's
like
I was just thinking about like Death Stranding. Like Death Stranding is almost as open world as you can get because there's no going like there's no point really exploring in that game other than like finding a few you can explore to find new nodes, new people out there in the wasteland to connect with, but there's no secrets in the game in terms of like a normal. It doesn't do what most. Actually, it doesn't do what all open world games and most open world games, except for Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild doesn't do this either. Breath of the Wild didn't really have like you didn't go and explore an area like, oh, I hope I find actually I take that back. They had those stupid little freaking
Korok
leaf people.
The
Take that
Korok
back.
seeds. You had quite a few things.
But with Death Stranding, there's no push to go explore things because you're going to get a reward. It's just a gorgeous looking game, and like you explore because it's gorgeous, and you explore to find the most efficient route for your deliveries. So it's like you explore to play the metagame. Death Stranding is the more I play Death Stranding, I'm just like, this game is not like anything I think of. It turns conventions on its head. It's like, oh, you think it's an open world game, but it's not your grandpappy's open world game. Like you're not going to be running out there like, look at all this stuff. It's like, no.
You're not going to be, you're not running around like Shulk, just like, no. Everybody look over here.
If you do that, you will immediately fall on your ass.
Which again is another one of those things where it's like, does it succeed as an open world game?
To me it did, because I felt like it did something. I felt like it did something wholly original, and it was engaging to me to do.
But not in the same way that.
But not in the same way. It gave me that. It gave me the exploration discovery gameplay loop, but it wasn't attached to a Skinner box reward system. It was attached to like the game rewarded me by giving me beautiful vistas, playing really cinematic songs that like match up perfect. Like Kojima's just like, I'm just gonna put songs in this game and make it feel like you're playing a movie for about 3 minutes. It's like he gives little tiny rewards, and plus, when you're walking, you carve out a path on your map, and like you start to learn where the best places to walk and where the places where you shouldn't walk, because there's more gravel over there. It's
you know what? I really hope that they take that, like the next open world game that comes out uses the technology that they came up with in Death Stranding to map your trajectory. Because it's so simple, but it's again, it's just like the wind in Ghost. It's like, it's just like let me drag here.
Yeah, why can't I just draw a path?
Because it's like, if I set a checkpoint, and that was like my biggest problem with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, was you would have a waypoint and you were just like running all around. You're like, where the fuck is this thing? And you didn't realize it was like above you or below you.
Dumb.
Or like, even if it was, you missed this tiny little path up a tree root, and you're like, God, just show me where it is. And that's why when they
which is it's a shame, because it's like, these are the guys who helped with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, well, it's clear that they know how to create giant, beautiful landscapes, but then Nintendo knows how to navigate your character through beautiful landscapes.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that I think that just Monolith Soft and Nintendo working on something together, anyways, is just clearly that was the best of both worlds. I mean, because the one thing Nintendo had never done was make here's this huge place, go do it. Like, even if you consider Wind Waker or the first Zelda like open world games, they weren't nearly to the extent or the
scale, the breadth,
the bread of the wild,
bread
for the child.
Meaningful quests.
Yes,
just a meaningful quest. I think you touched on this earlier with like having something pull you. There has to be something pull you. I mean, even if it's something as like, Go stop Ganon.
Well, I also think that the Witcher and Breath of the Wild are very interesting in the fact that their strengths are each other's weaknesses, and their weaknesses are each other's strengths. Whereas The Witcher's narrative is its strongest, arguably like its best part, because that game just it weaves such an amazing narrative. And then Zelda really just is like, like literally Princess Zelda sounds like a 13-year-old girl who's never acted before in her life doing a voice.
I didn't think she was that bad.
Oh my god! Oh, I'm a Princess Zelda.
Yeah, you probably like Xenoblade 2's voice acting too. Anyway,
I like Xenoblade 1's.
Oh yeah, everyone does. It was great.
No, there's one guy. I just saw him.
It was me.
But it is funny because so those things, right? So like, yeah, Witcher succeeds heavily on the narrative, but then like if you think some moment to moment gameplay and some of the even like the combat can be a little janky here and there, whereas like Breath of the Wild is so smooth. It's got that buttery Nintendo, juicy juice all over it. And so like there's really not much of a flaw in that whole game. Whereas like The Witcher can come off a little glitchy at first, but then like once you learn the intricacies, it kind of has that. But like
once you lean into the jank.
And while I won't say that Ghost of Tsushima is not nearly as good as The Witcher 3 or Breath of the Wild, but it does kind of sit in that middle ground between the two, because its combat is far better than The Witcher's, but its story isn't as strong, and its polish isn't as good as Breath of the Wild. But you know what I mean? It's like it sits in this like weird spot between the two, but ultimately it does eventually sort of fall on some repetition of a Ubisoft game at times, because but the things you're doing, and it's one thing I do want to mention, and then I'll shut up about Ghost of Tsushima for my review.
Jeez.
Shut your mouth hole.
We're here to talk about open world games, not Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, more like Ghost of the Wild. Whoa.
Ghost of the Wild Witcher.
They do a thing which I've never seen. I've never seen an open world game do, which is the armor sets you acquire in this game are all completely different, and they all have their own utility, and you can keep upgrading all of them throughout the game, and you just wear whichever one you feel like wearing for the mission you're on.
I played a game recently that did that.
I was gonna say I feel like that I've seen something like that before, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
No, I've seen games do that before, and I love it, because like I hate when games just like you get some new piece of equipment and then immediately just like, wow, that's worthless.
Yeah,
cool.
I just spent a ton of money on this thing. Oh, here's a chest. Oh, god damn. Yeah. Like in Chrono Trigger, there's a lot of that where you're like, where you'll buy like this really expensive sword, and then you like go on a little quest and you open a chest and it's like, oh my god, and I just wasted. Like, I didn't even use the sword yet. Like,
I can sell it and make 20% of what I put into it.
Yeah. So what they do, each piece of armor is actually like so you have like archer armor.
I like that. Yeah.
Which is like, and all it does is like improves all of your archery. And there's times where you're gonna want to sit back and just like pick people off. So you want to wear your archer armor, and you're gonna feel that mood. You have traveler's armor, which as you're wearing it clears more of the map as you're like wearing it. And so you want, and you can upgrade any of these armors. You can actually take them to an armor smith and have them each upgraded. And each time they do, they get a visual upgrade. And so then you have like your samurai armor, which like increases your defense. And then you have like your Ronin, like, which is just the cloth, right? Which increases like stealth and melee. And like all of them are always useful. Like you can always just like, they're never like not. And so like, it doesn't matter which one you're wearing. You're going to find a use for them. So like this is the first time I've ever found myself actually like upgrading all the armors. Just like whenever I have an upgrade, I'm like, okay, yeah, upgrade this one and upgrade this one, because I know I'm going to use it at some point. And to me that, because like I think what a lot of open world games are doing, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and the last Far Cry, is like they're doing this whole like, and the Shadow of Mordor, where it's like they're doing this like MMO loot drop thing where it's like, oh, I found the Diablo thing where it's like, oh, I found it's a common sword, and then now it's yellow, so it's uncommon, and it's purple, so it's legendary, and it's like they're doing this But
I don't like that.
It's so cheap now. It feels so cheap, and that was like in Odyssey. I enjoyed that game, but like at towards the end of the game, I was just like, man, you can tell they didn't put much artistic like merit into designing the weapons and armor, because it was like they knew you were just going to get another one like really soon afterwards. Whereas it's something like with Ghost, it's like everything looks so cool, and then
everything
you can unlock dyes, and you can dye them your own color too. And so it's
awesome.
like it feels more like your shit versus like, oh, here's another thing, I can throw it away. And there's even a thing where you can go up and you can sell your stuff in Ghost of Tsushima, but I have never done that. They're like, do you want to sell anything? I'm like, no. Why the fuck would I sell anything? I use it all. Like, you stupid bitch.
I never sell anything in RPGs anyway. I'm a hoarder.
I realized I didn't sell anything in Chrono Trigger. Like, I didn't sell anything. And
Yeah,
like,
I
at the
never
very end of the
sell
game,
anything.
I had so much, like, I needed something, and I sold like everything, and like I had so much money. I was like,
so Ghost of Tsushima is in between Breath of the Wild and Witcher. Does that mean so like Death Stranding that's on freaking Mars?
yeah. So you have The Witcher over here. You have Ghost of Tsushima here, and then you have Breath of the Wild here, and then
Death Stranding. You can see it. It's really far away.
I think I see it, John.
I think I see it. It's a guy walking, holding a baby. Okay,
death walking.
He's definitely walking or standing.
Yeah, but that's interesting, man. I didn't even think, when I was thinking about open world games, I didn't even think about Death Stranding. Like, didn't even,
because
it's
kind
of like Shadow of the Colossus. Like, it's hard to register it as an open world game because it doesn't follow the rules. What are the rules?
I am the rules.
But I mean, yeah. So to me personally, I think the most successful open world games right now that you can off the top of your head, most people would just say, I think Witcher 3, Breath of the Wild, the Elder Scrolls series, the Fallout series, and
the Bethesda games.
Yeah, the Bethesda open worlds.
The Bethesda style.
Spider-Man, which is another one, we didn't talk too much about, but like, and it doesn't, and I guess until, honestly, I mean, Batman, Arkham City, and Arkham Asylum, we didn't talk about that. I mean, Arkham City and Arkham Knight.
Honestly, there's not much to say for me.
And so that's one thing that, to me, Spider-Man did so much better, is instead of, whereas Batman exists in this, it is an open world, but to me, like, all there was these these Riddler trophies that were just like so ridiculously hard to figure out and do. And I was like, at one point you're like, no, I'm not, I don't care. Whereas Spider-Man, you have all these backpacks that Peter Parker's left around town, like just everywhere, that he's just left with like different shit, and you find them and he'll pull it out and it'll be like callbacks to like some of the comics or the cartoons or whatever, like it. And it's so much more interesting to find those than it is, you don't have to solve a fucking puzzle or anything like that. To me, Spider-Man felt more like I wanted to explore New York.
Yeah.
Whereas,
so I mean, like I think the reward part of the, we talked about the exploration discovery loop, but without that integral part of that loop is the reward, because if you don't have a reward, then that loop is you're not going to want to start that loop back over. So it's like, exploration, discovery, reward. And I think and it's just, at that point, it's just going to be a person to person thing. Cause some people find the Ubisoft style like rewarding, some people like to clear all those dots. Some people like, and those same people those are the platinum people, as I call them. They just they play games to do everything, like it's some sort of.
Dude, I've already seen multiple people like posting screenshots of their platinum of Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm like, how
did you have fun? How did you have fun?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
how was that fun, man?
Did you just have your phone out like the whole time?
Yeah, that's
like,
not fun. But again, it's different gameplay styles. I mean, some people find that rewarding. Some people find reward and lore rewarding, like Death Stranding or Spider-Man. Like, you get little tiny bits of either it's like in story lore or out of story lore. Yeah, I'm a lore whore. That's a good name, lore whore. I am a
Meatball
lore.
whore.
I'm a lore whore. But yeah, I like lore rewards. I like stuff like that, or like like cool gear, like something, or like beauty, like you said before, just a beautiful vista. Like sometimes that's a reward enough.
Can we start another podcast called Shiny Boy and the Lore Whore?
Shiny boy. Oh my god, I gotta write that down.
Shiny Boy and the Lore Whore. Welcome back to another edition.
All right, we're just gonna reboot the channel real quick, guys.
We're gonna reboot it. Hold on, guys. We'll be back.
We'll be back.
But yeah,
oh my gosh.
I do think, and I think to another extent, you also have people, and myself included, that enjoy the Bethesda open world style, even though, to me, that is always been one of those, like, the reward is far greater than the actual gameplay. Like
yeah,
the gameplay has never been good in those games. Like, come on,
no.
It's just not good. Like it's tactically fun. Like, it's fun to pick your approach to a situation, like a Dungeons and Dragons game, but like, it's not fun to just go. You know, I mean, like, especially when, like,
the actual mechanics
after playing open world games like and I can't believe we didn't think about this, but Infamous, those are another good example of open world games. I don't think those games are amazing. I think they're really good games.
They're good. Yeah, they're good.
I think Sucker Punch just they finally reached their, like, it only took them from the beginning of the PS4's life cycle to the end of the PS4's life cycle.
Yeah, there's not a lot of for me a good grading scale for me personally for an open world game is how much of the world do I complete in terms of, like, I mean, the Infamous games, I 100%ed all of those games. With Death Stranding, I 100%ed all of those games. And like, my definition of 100% is in, like, I did all the main story the quest, did all the side story quests.
Like I found all side stuff. Like,
I found all the major points.
You didn't collect all the, like, notebooks or whatever they have you do in games.
Yeah, like, but like, yeah, so like GTA 5, like I did all the side quests.
How did we not talk about Rockstar?
Yeah, they're killer, man.
What the fuck?
But, like, to me, you have to, like, and you know what all those things have in common is really engaging traversal systems. Like, it has, like, we go back to my original point. It has to be fun because the point of an open world game is large scale, and if it's not going to engage me traveling this large scale area, I'm just not gonna have fun.
Yeah. See, and what's funny is, like, something like Breath of the Wild, where I didn't actually ever, like, I rarely used the horse.
Yeah, neither.
I generally would just climb
because it's huge, right?
And then,
we didn't even talk about the climbing everything aspect of that game. Again, another mode of traversal that I can't believe more games don't do. Like, what the heck?
Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn. There's another one. To me, Horizon Zero Dawn is a good open world game. But it's a good open world game that didn't really do anything new for an open world game. It's a Ubisoft open world game, but done by Sony.
To the table in terms of
it's done by Sony, so it has more polish. But other than that, it doesn't really have anything super unique. And the main thing, like I said, when Horizon and Breath of the Wild came out the same fucking week. And I started, like, Horizon, and I was like, this game's so badass. And then I started Breath of the Wild, and I was climbing everything.
Like, and then why can't I do this?
And then I went back to Horizon, and I was, like, jumping on mountains and stuff. I was like, why can't I fucking go up there? I was like, it has to be a yellow thing for me to climb it.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's so rare. It's like the Uncharted thing. It's like, it's got to be like that weird thing with a yellow tint on it. And I know I can climb up here.
Yeah.
And it was so rare that you'd see those. I got so annoyed, and I didn't come back to it till later. And I did fully enjoy that game by the end of it.
But I mean, yeah, it wasn't as good because the traversal, it didn't feel, it wasn't rewarding, and it wasn't engaging. It didn't grab you. It wasn't fun.
It does. Yeah. To me,
that game has to be fun.
That game would have benefited much more from a segmented world. than
probably.
fully open world, which is something whereas like a Rockstar game like GTA 5 or Red Dead
I think
2.
it works. I think it works for Rockstar games.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Nice.
Those can't
for
be closed
especially
off
for
world.
GTA, because the main mode of travel are cars, and you go super fast in cars. So it's like traversing the GTA world. And plus their controls. GTA 5, the car controls in that game are so fun. Like it has this like arcadey sturdiness to it.
There's that thing. It's like you might as well, if you want to play a racing game, just play GTA 5 because it has better, arguably, it feels better to drive a car.
And I remember going back even to like GTA 3. One of my favorite things to do from GTA 3 all the way to 5, except 4. I didn't like doing it because the driving was terrible in that game, but was just getting a fast car, going on the highway, and driving against traffic. And seeing how long I could survive.
Well, and that's to me that's what Rockstar does better than I think pretty much anyone is make their own story.
Yeah,
I mean you are making your own story, even though you're playing a bespoke character. Like you're not making your own character.
Right? It usually doesn't work that way.
No,
like to have a voiced single character, but it's separate. It's separate from the
hey
player.
Wait a second. John Marston wasn't single.
Well, that's
you goddamn drop it, okay, boy.
Red Dead 1 works because I think it was just a smaller scale game. That was the problem with Red Dead 2. It was like, all right, I sure would like to get to the mission now. Okay, that's a beautiful vista. The first 5 times I saw it, no. Okay.
Red Dead 1 is the most conflicted I think I've ever been about a video game because at one point you have the open world is absolutely stunning, gorgeous, and just like a technical achievement and a marvel. And the story
Red Dead 2,
Red Dead 2. And the story is the same. It's in the same vein. The narrative
it's
me
their best story they've ever put out, honestly.
It's not even close. I mean, Red Dead 1 would be the right behind it.
Fun, yeah.
Because I did like
fun in a spaghetti kind of way.
In the story, I like the story, but the cast of characters and everything, like the narrative and the world were so amazing, but the pacing of like actually playing and like they designed it as a world to just get lost in and just be like realistic and for you to just just kind of as a cowboy simulator.
Rough. Yeah, people called it a cowboy simulator.
But people wanted to see the end of the fucking story, and we were playing these sloggy.
But I think it's not conflicting to me because I feel like the narrative is strong enough. I was annoyed at those long horse rides. It was annoying, but it was almost like the story always made me go, you know what? Whatever. The story is good enough that. Whatever. I'll sit on a horse and ride for a while.
It's a great game if it's the only game. Like if you're one of those people that just like buys one game a year, that game is perfect for you. But if you're like me and you're like shiny and it's like fuck, it's like when I got to the point where I was like I was so engaged in the narrative that I wanted to finish the game. I was like, oh my god! And then it gets to the the prologue, and then you're just like,
the prologue did drag on.
I don't want to build this. I don't want to build this fence anymore. I don't. Please stop making me build a fence. I don't want to. It's dumb. I hate it.
So
I'm not a fence maker. I'm a cowboy.
We'll finish the discussion with this question. Where do you see the future of open worlds going? Because it seems like the sentiment now, because it used to be like we want larger, longer games. Now the sentiment seems to be we want smaller, more focused games. But on the other hand, it seems like open world games are starting to learn their lesson, and they're starting to actually be good, be great.
I mean, I want something like I think to me, I think a lot of people are going to look at the design of. I think they're going to take Red Dead 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Breath of the Wild, Witcher 3, and the Bethesda games, and they're going to kind of, sort of like just sort of like put them in a little machine and just sort of be like, okay, so what works here, and sort of take pieces of that and hopefully run with it. Because to me, I think like the immersion factor of Ghost will probably carry on. I think more people are going to use that because just the direction of the wind or whatever you want to do, whether you press a button and then like, you know, animals run away a certain way or something. Like I could see Zelda even copying that because they copied the Ubisoft towers, and that'd work great. Like if you could press a button on the Switch and animals would kind of scurry off in a direction and you wouldn't have to bring up a fucking, you know, waypoint or something. And I think what we need to do is learn off each other. Just like Nintendo's really smart about learning off of others and then making their own thing. Because Breath of the Wild clearly took some of the Bethesda pudding and some of the Bethesda and some of the Witcher and a little bit of the Ubisoft Tower thing, and they like made their own
they made it
Nintendo stew over the fire, and they consumed it. And then they got
the thing is, it never felt derivative. It always felt like a Nintendo product.
Which is kind of like how I feel about. I think every game needs to just learn from the next. I mean, you know, that's what we're seeing with Breath of the Wild and The Witcher 3 is we're seeing every open world game learn from those two games. Like because for a long time,
I think those two games are have been and will continue to be the launch pad for future.
Yeah, because we literally had either a game was a Ubisoft open world game or it was a Bethesda open world game.
That was it.
And so it was like,
those were your two flavors.
Yeah, basically. So it was like, do you want like RPG, make your character go anywhere you want, do whatever you want, or do you want like bespoke character and, you know, story, but like you can kind of collect all this shit and like it's
do you want to collect? And it's funny because the Ubisoft method is, as we talked about Banjo-Kazooie, it's almost like a deformation of the collectathon kind of gameplay philosophy of like, well, we'll just put stuff everywhere. People like stuff, right? It's almost like kids who like love playing with Legos too much. They're like, let's just make a game like that where people like collecting stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. So I think, to me, I feel like going forward, and like you're saying, like the things I think about in my head is I think Cyberpunk, Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, that's coming.
Cyberpunk and Breath of the Wild 2. Those are going to be. I mean, again, what is everyone learning from? They were learning from The Witcher 3 and Breath of the Wild. So now we're having the next iteration of those two studios. I don't even know what they're going to do.
I don't know either.
You're just gonna get a rocket ship from the very beginning.
With one, like with Nintendo, we never know what Nintendo's gonna do, so that's kind of off the table right there. Because they just, who knows? They're off in their own lane. I would
really hope that people learn from Death Stranding. I mean, again,
I honestly do too. Because
what? There's nothing to lose from being able to customize your waypoints. There's nothing to. I mean, you don't have to do it.
There's so many like, because I mean, the game is about navigation. Like all like the meta game and all the little tiny pieces, all the hundreds of little pieces that move in that game behind the scenes. It's all about navigation. So people could look at the game and be like, it's a walking simulator. But what like it's in a weird way, it's like the purest open world game because it's a hiking simulator. What's more open world than, hey, go hike?
So here's my last thing I want to say, and then we'll sign off. But I want to see. I wished. So this is what I wish for when I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Is I was like, I either wish they would have just done Red Dead 1 but better, or they would have gone all in with the realism. And so I would like to see Red Dead Redemption 3 take some cues from Death Stranding. And make it like, if you're gonna make it that realistic, like I want to be like all in, like make it all in, like where I need to figure out like how to get down this mountain on my horse. Like I'm on this horse, and if I go this way, my horse is gonna fucking fall, and we're both gonna die. Like make it really a Western simulator. You know what I mean? Like, but don't they to me they skated the line a little too much. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. They think that's like game of the fucking generation. That's fine, but I would love to
hard
play.
To argue that. Fantastic.
I would love to play more simulator based stuff with that, like with the Death Stranding navigation where you are like some sort of like almost like Oregon Trail, like reboot Oregon Trail with the Death Stranding engine. So let's
with
do
the
it.
Death Stranding
Let's go.
philosophy.
Let's go, babe. I would play
That's-
the shit out of
And it's
that.
so funny because like Death Stranding is a survival open world game, but not in a traditional survival sense. Like you don't
You
have
don't-
to worry about.
You don't have to eat.
You don't have to eat. You don't have to like worry about this and that. The only thing you have to worry about is
Go
where you're
south.
stepping. Is where
Yeah.
you're stepping. That's literally your biggest concern. Is watch out where you walk. And I swear, after I put 400 hours into that game, and I look wherever I walk now. Like my brain has been trained forever to
Oh no.
constantly. Like I see like my path ahead of me now thanks to Death Stranding.
No,
I'm a better
it's-
walker now thanks to Kojima.
It's so funny because actually there's a YouTuber I follow. His name's Louis Amalia.
Shout out.
And I was like, I commented on his review of Ghost of Tsushima, and I was like, you know, I said a few things, and I was like, yeah, I love this and that or whatever. And then he like commented, he's like, does this game change like the way you like view your life? Like every time you see the wind blow in a direction, are you gonna like sort of just, like follow it? And, like I was like, like yeah, right. And like I left to go get some stuff today. I haven't been out, like I've been quarantined as fuck, and so I've been here for like 3 days straight. I haven't left, and I like went to the store today, and the wind started blowing, and I had the car, and I was like, oh, no.
That's so
That's
funny.
my waypoint.
I
I need to
love when
go
games immerse you like that, and it's funny because that happened with Bethesda games. I always play The Alchemist, and whenever I start playing a Bethesda game, I'm like, I look at flowers, and I'm like, ooh, flowers. No, it's not. You're not an apothecary. What the hell are you doing?
You dumb fucker.
So yes, for me, the future of open world games, they need to. Yeah, I think for me the trifecta. You know, Witcher 3 for its handling of narrative and sub narratives into gameplay. Breath of the Wild with its amazing topography use, and with Death Stranding with its like innovative navigation. Like I think those are like they need to the future needs to go from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it would be really freaking awesome to see like what some studio has to come up with. And then I would throw Ghost in there as far as like the lack of HUD and the because I don't think
yeah, but
that,
Death Stranding has zero HUD. Like everything
I
is
guess
on
that's
his
true.
suit.
I guess I mean if it's going to be an explorative open world where you're not like, because Death Stranding doesn't have a HUD, but it does because you can hit a button and like see all the shit in front of you with your tech.
Well, I'm sorry it doesn't take place in 12th century Japan. Okay,
That's what I'm saying. I'm
What the
just,
hell,
like,
dude?
If we're gonna make like the inevitable like medieval game with
you.
all the branching pieces of that, but yeah. So, anyways, somebody go do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, not us. I don't have the time or the
We don't-
really. I'm not going to do that.
You use all the things. Go do it.
Yeah, it's easy to make games, right? You just
Yeah,
make
you
them
just-
and they come out exactly how you thought,
You
right?
just drag all the files into one box.
Let me just drag the gameplay, good gameplay folder over here,
You click
and the
mix
good music.
files, and
Mix
the
it together.
files mix, and then boom, bada bing, you got a new game. And
Making
you play
games. I tried to make a game once.
Yeah. You know
It's
what?
real
I tried to
fun.
make a game too. It turned out it was already a game. It's called Hopscotch. Hey, I've been the Cardinal. This is my friend the Meatball. Thanks for watching the Critical Beard Podcast. We hope you subscribe and like the fucking channel, or else we'll find you,
uppercut that.
and
that-
Meatball will beat you into oblivion.
I'm a
Hey.
war whore.
Thanks for watching. We love you. Take care and have a good Christmas.